Hello, guys. This is Mind the Comics, or Gustavo G. Um, and I'm fashionably late. Uh, I'm sorry for that. But I'm alone this weekend. My wife went to visit her mother, and I was either to throw a sex party or to mess around with the comic books. And um, this room is where I have most of my collection, maybe 80% of it or something like that. And I try to clean it at least once a year. It's probably been a bit longer this time. Um, but I've emptied that shelf, which is the mostly Portuguese creators shelf. Um, and I'll give a clean to those books and show them to you. I don't know if that's something of interest, since it will all be very unfamiliar to you. But I'll give it a go, and um, I'll try to clean this entire unit during the weekend. Maybe I do some other videos. I don't know. So that's usually the Portuguese creators shelf. Then this one is a random one, kind of random. Here we have most of the Franco-Belgian classics, Tintin and Alix, Spirou, other stuff. And here it's also Franco-Belgian. Um, and here this is mostly fantasy and westerns and sci-fi. Up there, it's some random things and DC Comics, and these last two rows is all Marvel stuff. And then here, um, there's some other things, but these are the books we'll be looking at tonight while I give them a quick cleaning. Um, as I said, mostly Portuguese creators stuff. I hope you enjoy it. And I know we have Terence in the house and Gore Vidal. Thank you so much, boys. Okay, let's set this up like this. Oh, an echo going on. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Let me try to fix that. Oh, sorry, so very sorry. Well, this microphone is off. This is on. This one is okay. Well, probably because I was speaking much closer to the cell phone. Is the echo gone now? Is the sound okay, guys? Okay. Hi, Vince. How you doing? And hello, Go Boy. So, first batch of books. Well, this one is from a friend, Diogo Carvalho, who was already a guest in the show I do once a month with Paulo and a couple of the guys. And Diogo is a arts teacher, and he also do comics. This is a very small comic by him. I don't like the colors. It was by some other guy. It's a very small comic by Diogo. And this one is also by him. It's a late 90s stuff. His style has evolved quite a bit since then. but very cool. Diogo Carvalho. This one won some national prize in 2020. It's Psychosis Planet. It's all about conspiracy theories. Here, Elvis is alive, and it's all about conspiracies, a great conspiracy amalgam. And it's pretty cool. Well, this one also recently won some prizes. It's very detailed. It's amazing how this author can do such detailed panels. Really cool. And a very entertaining story. The title is Somewhat Less the Hairdresser. Hello, Lillian. How are you doing? The Sacred Fire by Derrade. He was also a guest in one of our shows. It's a satiric Portuguese author. This is kind of an autobiography of him. And mostly narrating his adventures as a comics creator. Very cool stuff. And another one by him, The Shop, in where he fantasizes about owning a comic book shop. Derrade is a very funny author, very funny. And this is kind of the Portuguese satiric section. Another one, this is an anthology. And a little magazine, anthology too. So, as I said, this section of my collection is not the most interesting for you guys, probably, because it's all about Portuguese stuff. And these are some old magazines. This one is from 1999. This was published by that guy, Derrade. It's an anthology with Portuguese authors. And this one is an exact copy of that. Now this is from about 2010, maybe. Oh, this one is a little bit. You see, I don't have my books bagged and boarded, and not protected at all. This is what by Rui Lacas, Asteroid Fighters. Lacas is quite a talented author. I enjoy his style a lot. He already published in the French market. I don't think he ever worked in the American comics market. The Little Sad Boy, the essence, but Little Sad Boy is this character, kind of an autobiography by the author, João Mascarenhas. And you see, just because I smoke so much, can you see the difference between where the book was protected by other books and where it was not? This is the smoking effect in this room, because I spend a lot of time here. But this is quite nice. Little Sad Boy. Now this is a group of BD Jornal, Comics Journal, the Portuguese Comics Journal, which lasted for maybe 30 something, 40 issues. The publisher passed away a couple of years ago and donated all his collection to a public library. And this one features comics by Filipe Andrade, which you would know from The Many Deaths of Lala Star. This was his debut comic in Portugal, Break. But this is kind of a journal, so with some comic book pages, some interviews. Here's Filipe Andrade's work back then on Break. Yeah. Another issue. Here he is. Oh, in this one, there's one of my comics published here. Let's see it. Here it is. This one was written by me and illustrated by Manuel Morgado, who is now also working in the French market. Hi, Johnny. How are you doing? John's autobiography. O Corvo, The Crow. This is by one of the most prolific Portuguese authors, Luís Louro. He is publishing maybe three books every 2 years. He's very prolific, and this one was co-written with a Portuguese TV star, radio and TV star, Nuno Marco. Luís Louro has a nice style. This one is about a schizophrenic hero who moves around Lisbon's rooftops. And there are quite a few out with this character, the Crow, O Corvo. Here's another one. Luís Louro. History of Lisbon, by one of our most prestigious historians, and Filipe Abranches, who is a very nice artist and publisher too. This one is a bit oversized, a bit larger than the typical European format, and this is 2 volumes. This is the second volume about the history of Lisbon. Very nice work. I haven't read this in almost 20 years. I should read this sometime. And Johnny is talking about the island of Corvo in the Azores. Yes. And the first volume of History of Lisbon. And this one was sponsored by the City Hall. That's one way to publish it, to publish anything relevant in Portugal. The market is so small that you wouldn't expect to sell more than 500 to 1,000 copies of any book. So if you can get any kind of sponsorship, that's very important. And this is all done in a medieval kind of style or adapting to the ages. It's a very nice graphic work, really. I have to reread this someday. Very cool. Yep, you have to get the government funding it, or the city halls, or anything like that. Wakatanka. This is something published in the late 70s, I think. So kind of a earlier European style, a Native American story by Portuguese authors. Jorge Magalhães, one of the most renowned Portuguese script writers ever, and Augusto Trigo in the art. This is again by Luís Louro, the guy from The Crow. This one is called Alice, and it's one of his most remarkable works. He likes to draw ladies with big boobies, and it's all fun. And he always puts a lot of Easter eggs in his works, so you can spend some time looking at stuff. Alice, it's a prostitute. Very nice. Fado illustrated, and then again that cigarette mark all around. Fado illustrated. Fado is the national song, kind of a nostalgic song with Arabic roots. I don't know if you guys ever heard any kind of fado. Not my favorite, but nowadays we do have a new generation of fadistas, of fado writers who are okay to listen to. Fado illustrated by Jorge Miguel. Jorge Miguel is also working for the French market, and I really, really like his style. I'm quite the Jorge Miguel fan. So this is basically the history of Fado. And this one, also by the same author, by Jorge Miguel, is about Camões, the most famous Portuguese poet, along with Fernando Pessoa. But Fernando Pessoa was a 20th century poet, and Camões is from the 17th or 16th century. But he wrote the most famous Portuguese book, the Lusíadas, which is about the age of the Portuguese discoveries. Now, thank you, boss. Obrigado, patrão, in Portuguese. In French, merci, patron. This was published in France I think before it was published in Portugal. It's by Rui Lacas, a guy I showed before when showing Asteroid Fighter. The collection is kind of messed up. I used to have things more connected in the collection, more logically connected. I'll have to reorganize things. This is a very nice, simple story about a girl working on the agriculture fields and trying to get out of that lifestyle. Really, really cool book. I haven't read it in a long time, also, but really nice. A very nice story, this one. Oh, Gore Vidal knows Camões. Yes. Yes, and Pessoa. Yeah, Pessoa was very, very eccentric. Pessoa had like at least half a dozen famous heteronyms, and he would write differently depending on which heteronym he was writing under in that moment. In that moment, a very, very complicated man, very, very complex author for sure. This is a recent fanzine I got. It's by Ricardo Batista, who was also a guest in one of our monthly shows. And here he experiments with different styles. I think he's still trying to find his own definitive drawing style, but he is getting there. And these are a few tiny, tiny comics he produces. Just one page, like one strip comic, and it has a few series, half a dozen series going through this, which is very, very cool. It's tiny comics. I like this a lot. And this is also by the same author. It's his kind of anthology. This is some old anthology. This was born out of a comics forum that everybody interested in comics in Portugal would go to in the early 2000s. And I've sent a copy of this one to Terence in Canada. This one has one of my stories also. Here it is. This one is about the First World War, the Christmas truce in 1914. And this is the same publication. That was issue 0. This was issue black. This, I think, also has a story written by me. I'm pretty sure of that. I think there is. Oh, yes, this one. Yeah, this one was written by me, illustrated by Phil. This is just some lithography stuff I got from someone I knew in a bar someday. No, Gore, there's not an English or a Spanish version. No. Another Portuguese prosing, let's call it like that, in the early 2000s. Well, this is as good as an American comic book, actually. Actually, with a better stock cover and better stock paper. It was just not yet done absolutely professionally. but this one is by Kingpin Comics. Kingpin Comics, it's a comic shop in Lisbon, which has been a candidate to the Eisner Awards Best Comic Shop for like 3 or 4 years in a row. It never won, but it is a great comic shop in Lisbon. And another one there. Oh yeah, you could probably read Portuguese with no problems, Gore. It's a very simple story about two cats, two brother cats who were separated by First World War and kind of reunite during the 1914 Christmas truce. A Portuguese fanzine by Fermad, still working, this guy. This fanzine is some 20 years old. Another Portuguese fanzine, kind of an anthology, a 24 hours kind of anthology. This is another one made by France. This is under the Cthulhu team. Bang Bang, a manga by Hugo Teixeira, one of the guys who does the monthly show on YouTube with me. And this is also from the early 2000s, or maybe 2005 to 2010. Cerberus versus Super Pig. Oh, yes, quite. I think there's a bit of inspiration there. Yes. And Bang Bang Volume 1, that manga, the Portuguese manga. Oh, and this is BD Journal again. My collection is all scattered. It wasn't supposed to be like this. This is BD Journal, but now in a more modern form with a square bound. This was a cool publication. I had a subscription to this, an annual subscription to this. But the publisher passed away some years ago. And the Portuguese Comics Panorama just got a little bit poorer. And some more BD Journal. A whole lot of them. I didn't collect them from the start. Well, here's some more Hugo Teixeira, the guy I was showing with the Portuguese manga. And some early Felipe Andrade stuff from The Many Deaths of Lila Star. Quite different, huh? He evolved quite a bit. And we are doing this for how much time? Half an hour. Oh my god. This is just the first pile of 3. And Johnny da Costa asked his fathers to grab me some Portuguese comics. Yep. Yep. I remember I recommended you A Pior Banda do Mundo, the worst band in the world. And I'm sure I have that one here on the pile. And that plays with, well, I'll talk about it when I get there. This is about a, a Portuguese town with a military history around it. It's another one with the support of the city hall. Um, it's a border town with Spain, so obviously there's a military history with that in that region, but it also remounts to the times of Romans and prehistoric times. And Monkey Suit by Rui Gamito. I haven't heard of Rui Gamito in a long time. Monkey Suit. Yeah, fun stuff. Very expressive and fun stuff. And now, let me take this pile away from here and pick up another one. If you still have the patience to stay around for a little more. What was I thinking? Coming back to YouTube, speaking English with such a video. Okay. And Ballad for Sophie here, published recently in the US by IDW and nominated to 4 Eisner Awards. This is by Portuguese Filipe Melo and Juan Caviar, who is Argentinian, but now also Portuguese. And this was published in Portugal like 3 years ago. Recently published in the US by IDW. And this is nominated to 4 Eisner Awards. Best Graphic Novel, Best Writer, Best Multimedia Artist, and something else. So it's no little deal, and it's very nice. It's a simple story about a piano player, or better, about 2 piano players, 2 rival and friendly piano players. It's their life story. And I love the art, I love the colors. And the story is rather simple, but very, very well told, very touching. It's not a fantastic, amazing book, but it's very good. Oh, my wife is here. Dina Pinto. Olá, Dina. Oh, okay. Thank you, T. Gore Vidal says you mentioned some historians who worked on graphic novels. Yep. General public is not quite well. There is no prejudice towards comic books. The most common comic books like Asterix and Tintin are known to everybody, and there's a general acceptance to the medium. Not everybody reads, only a small percentage of people are as interested in comics as we are, but it's quite accepted. And even in academic in the academic field, there is an opening to comic books, and it's a different market. It's a very small country. It's very different. And there are some very well-known people, ex-ministers, journalists, and people who have a weekly space in television and recommend books every week. And there's most certainly a comic book in that mix. Yep, Ballad for Sophie is quite good. Love the colors, love the art. And there's the most crazy page here. Oh yeah. Here, where the guy takes some psychedelic drugs. Look at this stuff. Here. This is very cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know if any comic book shops in the Azores Islands, Johnny, but in Madeira Islands, there's at least 2 comic book shops. Love you too, Dina. Andromeda, love this guy. This is Zé Burnet, Portuguese author. In the early 2000s, in that comic book forum I spoke about last time, Zé Burnet was the youngest guy there. He was like 12 or 13 years old, and he was starting to show his work, and everybody was loving it and giving him a lot of incentive. And Zé Burnet became this magnificent author. This is almost a silent book, not completely silent, but almost. It has at least a mention by Mike Mignola, which is cool. But Zé is really, really a great artist. Very detailed. And he's still under 30 years old, or probably about 30 years old now. But I think he will have a great future in comic books. But he produces kind of slowly, I think. He could never work for a major comic books company. But his work is extraordinarily detailed. Love him. Put him under your radar. Follow him on Twitter. Zé Burnet. Really, really cool. There. Zé Burnet. Hi, Damien. How you going? Yep, it's very, very nice. Zé Burnet. This is a little kind of, not a fanzine, but a simple publishing by one of the guys who does the weekly show with me, Vet. He produces a lot. He's always drawing. And I like his style. And here he has the most fabulous kind of superhero design Look at this. This is a villain. But look at this design. Isn't that cool? I find this a very, very cool design for kind of a female villain. Another one by him. I don't even know if I'm cleaning up this shit or not. Well, actually, books on this shelf are not the dirtiest because it's the top shelf. This is also by that. As I said, he produces a lot. He's about to publish a compilation, a all of his work for the last 20 years, and it's about 500 or 600 pages. It was due to come out some months ago, but with papers shortages, it got delayed. Now, this one was also published in I'm not sure if in the US, but it was at least advertised in UK. In the UK, how do you say it? The previews, UK previews. This is Kong the King. It's a silent comic by Portuguese Osvaldo Medina, and Osvaldo is absolutely the best graphical narrator of Portuguese comics. Is love his style. His visual narration is just top notch. This is a silent graphic novel, kind of a giant savage or native island man brought to a big city, like if it was King Kong, and it's a similar story. But really, Osvaldo's graphic narrative is top notch. Delightful book. Kong the King. Han Solo by Rui Lacas. It's not a Star Wars comic, just a... I don't remember what this is also. Well, it's a Voyager. Yeah. Han is someone from North Europe and is traveling around Southern Europe. So Han Solo. Rui Lacas is very nice. I've shown some of his stuff previously, but like I said, I don't know how my collection got all this scattered around. Things used to be a little more well organized. Another one by Rui Lacas, The Ermitary. A little bit of Mignola influence here. Oh. And Solo. Yeah. Nice one, Terence. Yes, I hear you, Gore. You know, I'm a lawyer, and most of my work as a lawyer is in family affairs and criminal stuff. Yeah. I always find funny when you talk about your lawyers. My colleagues. Another one by Rulakas. This is one of my favorites. Daughter of the Crab. Um, it's it's a self-discovery book. Um, it's very nice. This was published some 20 something years ago, but it's very nice. Wonderful story. I don't even know what this is. And I keep not knowing it. Uh, okay, okay. It's by one of the guys who illustrated one of my short comics stories. I had no remembrance of this. Well, this could be used as a color book. Not sure if it is intended to be a color book. Okay. Another Portuguese small publication. Coelhos, rabbits. Lawyers who live very far away are more palatable. Yes, I get that. Oh, this is still the collection is just so scattered all around, man, and so dirty. God damn it! This can't be all be cigarettes. I mean, this is also fucking dirty. And it's cigarettes, it's cat fur, it's cat litter, it's dust from the fields around. Uh, we are having uh, rainy, dusty rain from the desert Sahara nowadays. Uh, wow. So, another one of those anthologies I participated in. And another one. Nice looking cover, huh? Thank you, Gore. Another one. This is very nice cover, also. Very cool. Zona. Another one. And it's kind of incredible how many zonas there were out, maybe more than a dozen. And this was all born out of an internet forum and just done by friends for free. And whichever profits were invested in the next publication. So this was just a way to keep producing and keep publishing comic books in Portugal. That's kind of amazing. Another one. And the covers are quite nice, huh? And a good deal of pages here. 106 pages in this one. So the Portuguese comic scene is not relevant globally or internationally, but it has produced some well-known talents like Filipe Andrade from The Many Deaths of Lila Star, or Jorge Coelho from who is now doing the Great Gatsby adaptation, and there's some other guys working for the French market. So that's pretty cool. Another zone. Oh boy, good times. Just having something to drink. I've never met a woman named Zona. Neither did I, Gore. I never smoked Matarratos, no, da Costa. But I know what those were. Yes, I wrote some stuff back in the early 2000s, up to maybe 2010. Then I quit. I was never satisfied with my writing. Maybe I come back to it someday. I don't know. I have a few ideas and stories stored away, so maybe I will if I have the time and the willing to do so. So another zone. Oh, this one is in color. So as I said before, quite amazing that this lasted for so long, with people doing totally free and just investing the profits in the next volume. It was a special time in the Portuguese comic scene in the early 2000s. It was very, very cool. And another one, this one from 2011. There you go, March 2011. Very cool, man. And for me, the cool thing about doing this video is looking back at this stuff, bringing back so many memories. Yep, this one has one of my stories. Yep. This one was written by me. Really not satisfied with this one. Another one. And now we're entering the books of one of the most prolific authors in Portugal, José Carlos Fernandes. Okay, let's call him JCF, José Carlos Fernandes, JCF. He did a lot of stuff in between the late 90s and maybe 2015, and then he retired from comic books. But he did a lot of stuff. Not that his art was spectacular. He was not the greatest artist, but he was a very, very good writer with very good ideas and very prolific. And for some years, he had a well, the right word is not a scholarship, not exactly a scholarship, but he was funded by public institutions, so he could dedicate himself solely to comics. João Carlos da Costa e João Carlos. Okay. This one was funded by the IRS. It's called the Fiscal Nightmares of Porfirio Zap. So the tax nightmares of Porfirio Zap, and it's kind of an incentive not to escape taxes. One of the examples that JCF was funded by governmental funds. The Adventures of Baron Wrangel. Okay. Not the greatest artist, but very competent. Very, very competent. And this is his most well-known stuff. It's called The Worst Band in the World. And the word band is a kind of a pun to bande dessinée. In Portugal, we call comics banda desenhada, which is similar to bande dessinée. But banda also means band, like music band. And this collection is about a music band. So it's called The Worst Band in the World, which means the worst music band and the worst bande dessinée in the world. But this is absolutely hilarious because this is very absurd humor. This takes place in kind of the most dystopic world you can imagine. It's very, very absurd. It's a collection of small episodes, always turning around this music band, this awkward jazz band, but it's really, really absurd humor. Let's just open somewhere random and see. This one is The Law of Sleep Conservation. It doesn't ring a bell. This one I can't even translate. The Transatlantic Crossing, Incognito Earth, Ultra Secret Scientific Experiences, The Demand for the Sonic Grail. But this is all very, very absurd, and it's delightful to read. And this is the book I recommended Johnny da Costa to ask his parents to get to him when they came to Portugal. What are you guys saying? Yeah, the worst comic. And these are the original volumes or the original comics with about 70 pages. Recently, this was all compiled into hardcovers. I don't know if I clean this up. All right, no. I feel I'm not giving these books the best cleaning, you know? Talking too much, cleaning not enough. Oh well. I'll give them another rub before I put them back on the shelf. Also by JCF, José Carlos Fernandes. This is very interesting. Look at this. this says this, I don't know how you call it, okay? But the book is made so that you can combine any two pieces of design and text, and somehow it will still make sense. Okay, it's so absurd. His writing is such a ethereal, oniric kind of writing that it doesn't matter, and it still makes sense. So there's, I don't know how many pages this has, but probably 100, and you can just combine it in very different ways. And I find it a great yeah, I find it a great idea. It's very, very cool. I actually never spent that much time playing with this book, but it's very cool. Very, very cool. Another one by the same guy, Dreams Catalog, or Catalog of Dreams. And another one by the same guy, People Who Wear, um, well, how do you call it in English? Helix caps. You know, the kind of baseball caps with a spinner on top. How do you call that? JCF has kind of an obsession with hats in his work. There's always hats as a theme. This is big-headed people. Now, a book about Salazar. Salazar was the Portuguese dictator who ruled from the early 1930s to the late 60s. And then when he died in the late 60s, the dictatorship didn't last much longer. But this is kind of an autobiography on him by João Paulo Coutrin, who was a journalist and Portuguese writer who passed away this year, and from COVID, I think, which was very sad. So this is kind of a mixed arts comic. Well, looks good on camera. I gotta give it that. Actually, I think it looks better on camera than in real life. Wow, surprised with that. In real life, it's kind of all unfocused, but it really works in camera. Yep, really works. Nice. Wow, interesting. Okay, so Salazar. Um, This is one of the first Portuguese graphic novels in the late 90s, I think. It's called The Supreme Art. And this one is pretty cool. Again, early on in the 90s or early 2000s, it would help to be famous to be published in a to publish a graphic novel. Rui Zinc was a journalist and writer, pretty famous back then, with several published novels. But he also enjoys comic books, so he wrote this comic book with Antonio Jorge Gonçalves, a good illustrator, and this one looks nice too. Quite experimental, like most of Portuguese comics from the 90s or early 2000s were. Very avant-garde, let's say. Yeah, this stuff looks good. Unintentional ASMR. I don't remember this. Electric Days. Man, I gotta clean my books more often. This isn't all in a bad condition. Fuck. Do you know when I die, you will get no money for this shit? Well, you might get a little bit selling it to some other old geezer. Electric Days. I don't remember the list. Oh wow. Man, I gotta say, most of this Portuguese stuff, which looked so avant-garde and strange in the early 2000s, looks pretty well now, 20 years after. So maybe there's something there, you know? Wanya. Oh, this one is a sci-fi story from the early 70s. And it's really on the 70s style and looks pretty nice. Yeah. When was this published? 1973. There you go, 73. Nice. Well, this is just a catalog from a comics exhibit, from the Amadora exhibit in 2016. So just a catalog. This is a collection of humor strips published in a sporting newspaper, in a sportive newspaper, A Bola, probably the most well-known sporting newspaper around. This lasted a long time there. And this one is something from my own city, some exhibit in my city. Man, I gotta keep this stuff cleaner. So yes, just a bunch of sketches or caricatures. Cool. And I think that's it. I still have another pile there, but well, I'll just show a couple more books because I can see this pile is not exactly Portuguese authors, it's kind of miscellanea, but I'll just show one more book. I spot just one more Portuguese author book, and this one is also cool enough to show. So it's Beet, the vegetable Beet, Life in a Spoon by Miguel Rocha. This is cool. This is early 2000s also, I think, and looks very, very good. It's also one of my favorite Portuguese comics ever. Yep, this looks very good. Look at this. Colors remind me a lot of Matotti. It's very nice. Yep, it was called Wania, Terence, exactly. Is it 3 a.m. in the morning? It is. Yes. So, guys, thank you so much for keeping up with me for such a long time. Terence, Gore Vidal, Damien, Johnny. What am I forgetting? Well, if I'm forgetting someone, please forgive me. Thank you so much for keeping up with me for this long. I will now end up cleaning these books. There's another pile in there, but it's just miscellaneous stuff and not really worth showing. And maybe during the weekend, I will do some other videos because I have some other 12 shelves to clean up or so, and in the most relevant I might do something else. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Cheers.